and concern to others, especially at this moment. This is a little bit more formulaic. Now in the World Championships, you get 80 kilometres to go, a team goes to the front and others start taking a push, and nothing really happens, and the gap comes down because everybody wants to be in position because they don't want to miss out. Because when it does kick off, and especially in this circuit, because of the lefts and rights, the ups and downs, you don't want to be caught too far down the back. But what we have to take into consideration, and Tom has said it all along, the phase that we're in this race. I think we've had more phases in this World Championships than we have had in previous championships. And every phase that's taken, then there's always that effort. And I think there's a lot of effort going into this race already. And, you know, I was listening to you guys when I had my break, and it was, and Tom, you were saying about some teams, they can't wait to the last lap. And I think you're absolutely right. You know, how do the Dutch deal with this, knowing what happened last night? They wake up in the morning knowing what happened last night. Mathieu van der Poel stops the race. How do they readjust? They must have chatted about this in the morning, and I think they've taken it on the chin. They put Taco van der Hoorn right up there towards the front, and they've taken control. Some other teams and some other nations would have thought, you know, been devastated and, you know, kicking their heads around at the back of this peloton. No, they've stepped up, and I think you said it, Tom, this is an opportunity for one of them to become a world champion, because everybody was coming in thinking, right, we're going to be working for Mathieu van der Poel. That was our opportunity. And I think a lot of confidence has to be made from Dylan van Baarle winning the Paris-Roubaix. I don't think, you know, many really kind of saw that coming. He's a quality rider, and he's definitely capable of stepping up in the big stage. And it just, what they have done as a team is breed a sense of life into the team, and they've now taken control of the race. Okay, they haven't got a rider in here, and some other nations like Australia and you know, Italy, Belgium, France have played a blinder here and putting a rider here, but I think it's all going to come to nothing as the gap comes closer to 2 minutes.
Nico Dance was suffering from cramp. He tried to bridge to the front group, was trapped in no man's land, and indeed struggled. Tom, Brian was just alluding to, was asking you a question. I just butted in there with Mr. Dents. Apologies.
No, I think you're absolutely spot on, Brian. The fact that they've taken a positive out of this, like a negative situation, it's incredibly hard to pick everybody back up and say, okay, what we came here for. You know, with Van der Poel, you had a five-star rider, and they've lifted themselves, taken it on the chin, and they've applied themselves positively to this race. So that will lift the other guys, that will lift Mollema, it will lift Dylan. You know, they've got a chance. The other guys have done their job, and when you see that as a rider, it lifts your own performance. So I expect fireworks from those two.
I think we get fireworks from this front group as well, and I think it's going to be Plapp and O'Connor. Don't discount Battistella as well. He's been very, very quiet. And I must add that Peter Seri, who's wearing his number 13s correctly, doesn't have any of that nonsense. Yeah, he's also kept himself just a little bit quiet, make sure he's circulating properly, and making sure as well that the duties are shared. Let's see how much they've got left. 78 kilometres to go. My rudimentary maths tells me that we're not that far away from having completed 200 kilometres of this race, and that is a hell of a distance anyway. And then, Tom, you have to pick yourself back up and reimpose yourself for the remainder. It's a tough call.
Yeah, I mean, it's different riders who can perform after 250 Ks. You know, you see it at Liège every year. There's a big group. A lot of guys are kind of there and competitive, but like the real edge in that last sort of 20 kilometers over a race this long, there's only a certain number of guys in the world who have the engine to do it. And this has been such a demanding race that I think we're really going to see the cream rise to the top.
I agree. We talk about the Netherlands. Look at France just powering into this. other nations just starting to wake up to the task as well. Short-handed, I'm afraid, Poland, so not going to see too much of them, but Great Britain just hiding themselves nicely, and just look at Belgium. Well, Van Aert's, that familiar visage of his, not that far off the front, and here we go, starting to see a real change of demeanour. And this is exactly what we were hoping for, and it's happening now, Brian.
Yeah, it has to. The gap was coming down under 2 minutes, and a lot of these riders will know that it's their best opportunity is to stay in front and, split this group down. Too many sandbaggers in this group, and this is starting to split up now, and we get a reaction at the front of the group, and also a reaction at the front of the peloton.
Ben O'Connor's digging in for some glory here, so he wants to stay with it as well. Unfortunately, Luke Plapp is struggling just a little bit on the climb. He may well get back on, but that doesn't bode well for having to hang on for another 77 kilometres. Minute and 48, and it looks like they just binned it and thought, well, Ben O'Connor is just determined to drive it on through. I'm not sure whether it's that's staying with him. Possibly the two favoured riders from within this group. Green T-Rex just joining the fun here. Joris Sagan looks like he's peddling squares as well, I'm afraid. A few others struggling. Scott McGill just trying to stay with it. That's only one phase of the climb. It's a bit of a breaker, this one. Series of steps, and they'll become ever more magnified, Tom, the deeper we get into this race. Still with plenty of laps to come. And every single one of these little steps, it's going to be a little bit of a respite, I guess you might say, but a rhythm breaker at the same time.
Yeah, you can see how hard this climb's getting, that kind of attritional racing we're getting into now. It looks a lot steeper than it did a few laps ago.
Yeah, you can kind of feel it as well, looking at the attitude that the fans are in relation to the road. They come to this crest right now. This is that final crest. They'll just take a left-hander and then start their descent. Good effort here by O'Connor. Really wants to thin this down, and he's done an amazing job of it. 6 riders with 2 chasing, including Simon Piot, the Swiss. But it's not that far behind, is it? And a minute and 42, they look doomed because there's a lot of will here. The pace has changed back here as well, Brian, and so even the peloton itself is going to thin down, and this is going to become a regular feature of the laps that remain.
Well, if you can remember the famous 5, Seri, O'Connor, Battistella, Plapp and Sivakov, and I said that was the interesting group, and it still is an interesting group because they're the riders that are starting to move forward. France, Belgium, Great Britain, Slovakia as well, as you can see. Slovenia, likewise, with Tadej Pogacar's men, Jan Traknik needing to do some work on his behalf. And looking back through this bit of retrieval work, it's almost like France has pushed on and killed itself. He's looking back, Tom, just to trying to collect his own teammates.
Yeah, trying to get something going now, in front and from behind. And this is just going to keep going until another group goes. It looks like it's just about pulling one clear here. So this could get interesting. Bardet is also in the mix back there.
Well, Quentin Pacher for France here, he had a very good welter, has good leg coming into this race, and he's the rider. They've got a rider in front, but we said this earlier on when they went on the climb and tried to split things up. They want this race split to smithereens. They want to make it as difficult as possible. See, when I said that, when one team goes to the front, that's the time not to sit back, to put riders, because you never know what's going to happen. It hasn't been the Dutch that instigated this. It's been the French yet again. And if you are down the back like a lot of these riders, that's not the place to be, because you're going to have to be shutting gaps, and you don't want to be shutting gaps.
Well, the team that's doing that as well, just tucked in, is Italy. We've been talking about how quiet they've been, Tom, and suddenly they've gone very loud.
Yeah, we've also got, I just saw Remco was in the front split there, just drifting off the front. So he's coming into the race, which is going to spice things up.
Oh, whoa. That did not look nice, I'm afraid. Well, Well, I hope he's okay. Hate to see riders down and staying down. Nico Dent's already out as well with cramp by the looks of things earlier on today, and Zimmerman now on the deck as they scream down here. Just look at this shot here, Brian. This has got some real pace about it. That's the corner that this group now on our screen is just about to take that I've been worried about. That's the most focused because it carries so much pace into it.
This is a sort of circuit, and I think Adam said it earlier on, that when you're on a good day, it's a good circuit. We're just watching this crash here. So it's a touch of the wheels on the left-hand side of the road, which throws you right over to the right-hand side. So, unfortunately, Zimmerman, I don't think we'll see him back. Jens Zemke there, for the Bora Hansgrohe sports director, just checking he's okay. But that was a high-speed crash, and I think, you know, that'll be his race over, unfortunately. But it's one of these circuits that, if you get good legs, it's brilliant. You can race from the front. If you haven't, then you're struggling at the back, because there's so many kind of ups and downs, lefts, rights. Saw that big elastic band effect. And when you're going over the top of that climb this time, and then these gaps open, you know, who's going to chase, who's in front, and it's all these question marks. This is brilliant.
Well, Tom, we've been royally entertained so far today, and I feel like this almost vortex of intensity is just going to intensify.
Yeah, I think we've got a really interesting split just here. Hindley's in there, Remco's in there, and just for a moment the bunch bulked up a little bit on the descent, which gave them, I don't know, maybe a 10 sort of 15-second advantage. So everyone's going to look at each other, see who's there, and work out what to do. But this could be an interesting little group moving here.
This is good to see Zimmerman back on his bike. Still 72 kilometres to go, don't forget. But just look at the way that everything's folding over here. Zivakov doing a lion's turn here within this group. We've got a proper pecking order been established, but it's all a bit late, Brian.
Yes, it was, you know, the group of 5 with the kind of strong nations going forward. And then all of a sudden, you know, they caught the front group. They paced it, but it is having the numbers in that front group. Now we've got this kind of chasing group. As the Dutch came to the front, other nations came to the front. It was France with Pacheur that decided that he opened it up. The French will not stop. They've got the numbers. They're the only team that started with 9 riders. Germany tried, they chased, Colombia chased as well. They've used up some of the riders, and I'm afraid now we're over 200 kilometres. You know, fatigue is starting to come into play, and now we've got another chasing group of, which is quite sizable, almost 30 riders.
That's a fantastic shot, isn't it? This is that switchback, a turnaround here as they come back and over the motorway bridge. What the job is for the chase, and quite frankly, it looks bridgeable. This is clearly going to come back together, but what sort of force we've got is anybody's guess. Looking at the group that's on your screen right now, and they're looking to see what their margin is. Everyone's calculating here, Tom.
It's 11 seconds by my rudimentary counting. So
exactly,
it's interesting.
I think what's interesting here is, do you press on? Don't you? And that's the situation. I think the Belgians were looking. You know, they've got Evenepoel here, but where is Wout van Aert? And, you know, looking down this group, is it good for us? Isn't it good for it? Isn't it? So, you know, that's the question, is that all these riders, for maybe one time in a year, they're asking themselves these questions, because, you know, normally they have the race radio. So Belgium are looking at, we've got Evenepoel here, we've got Hermans as well. So Herman, so they're looking at what possibilities there is moving this forward, but definitely Evenepoel here is with plenty of kind of help. And, you know, with Quinten Hermans also in this front group, then they're in a good situation. So it looks as if they want to kind of press on a little bit. It's that moment of hesitation. Should I or shouldn't I? While at the front of the peloton, who has missed out again and who's having to ride?
Nero Quintana's in that group. Just haven't mentioned him all day. And, you know, he's had moments throughout his career where he's pushed on, notably in the early days in the Dauphiné and the like, where he has really surprised. It would be wonderful if he does something special today. But I can dream on, I guess you might say, some of you. But I'm very fond of Nero Quintana. It's nice to see him in the right place, potentially at the right time. It's just under 70 kilometres then to go, and still they're churning it. This is Pizzeri at the front group. That's O'Connor just going to the barriers, taking a toot on the bidon, as he is wont to. And that is Primozic, who's basically saying, I'm nobody's fool, come and do some work. I've got a teammate that I will be working for. They can also the same thing. Battistella of Italy. He's been fantastic. It's almost bought the right to rest for his team, who've hidden for much of the day and has suddenly got very lively. Albert Bettiol, Andrea Baggioli and Lorenzo Rota are on as part of that chase. Nico Conchi also is in here. Conchi, I beg your pardon. Just looking to see, of those who were troubled earlier, that's it was Zimmerman, wasn't it? That's Steimler, who is okay, thank goodness. Meanwhile, there is Agita as part of that group. He looked like he was just deciding which gel to go for, to be honest.
I'll tell you what,
all within 2 minutes, Brian.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Alaphilippe is playing, he's either playing a blinder today or he's getting it all wrong. He's sitting at the back, and I think...
That's a great line.
Yeah, I think what he is doing now is hoping, and this is his best chance of winning, because that's what you have to look at. What's the best chance of winning? Not getting with anything at all and risking everything to the last lap. And I think that's what Alaphilippe is playing now. His teammates are attacking. He's got a representative in the front group here. You know, they're breaking things up. But Alaphilippe is sitting there hoping that everybody's going to get drawn in, and then he's going to benefit from it later by the looks of things, because the whole race he sat at the back, not getting involved, swashbuckling style. We know that he's got the intelligence. He knows how to win this race. He's won it the last 2 years, and I think he's playing all his cards on just saving everything for the last lap and not getting involved.
Well, the general always comes and walks through the battlefield after everything is settled down, and you never know. It may well be that that's exactly what Alaphilippe is going to do. This will be our final sequence of corners, just a gentle left-handers that brings us to the 200 mark. You're going to this little dip and then a pickup. It may well be we have a very selective sprint by the end of today. This has been amazing, and this is a kind of a reformation. This is a collection, if you will, of those who are out of the front group. 4 laps remaining, and so this is handy in Evenepoel. Right place, right time, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, he was, just sniffing around at the front. He's obviously got the legs. It didn't look like he was under a great deal of pressure on that climb, even though it obviously it went pretty hard. To me, he looked quite relaxed, and he slipped away here. The French looked committed. Belgium seemed quite committed for the moment. So, nice move.
Little chit-chat going on, as you can see, across nations. But you have to take account, of course, that the peloton, generally speaking, at the top level, very familiar with each other. And, of course, a lot of the trade teams split nationalities, so you can find yourself racing against your trade team teammate. Back together. Well, it's various disparate groups, 2 major groups right now. This is the Nanpal, which is the largest Buddhist temple in the southern hemisphere, offering visitors some grand architecture, art, culture, including unique exhibitions. I'm just reading what you can read, so...
You've done your homework then.
It's not auto-translating this.
Just to give you an indication of who's in that group, Seneschal, Stan de Wolf, Rusenko, Jake Stewart, Ben Tulip, Quentin Hermans, Roman Bardet, Lorenzo Rota, Conchi, Mauro Schmitz, Matthias Jensen, Kevin Ginietz, Pascal Einkorn, Jay Hindley, Nairo Quintana, Evenepoel, Rasmus Tiller, Nelson Paulus, Jan Tratnik, James Fouché, Quentin Pasha. Some strong riders in that chasing group now.
Yeah, we haven't spoken about Alexei Lutsenko at all, Tom.
No, I noticed him ducking and diving a little bit just before. A long outsider for me, to be honest with you.
I think so as well. It doesn't really have a kick towards the end. Mind you, I've seen him have that in the past. This is Lucas Piper got himself back in on the descent, and now he's doing some pacing, just allowing momentarily Ben O'Connor to have something of a break. It would have to be something absolutely startling if they were going to hold off the chase with the sort of strength that Brian's just been talking about. But you never know which quarter is going to come the victory, and they're kind of looking at each other. The Italians are busy planning, which is always a joy to see. We also have with him Ben Tullett and Jake Stewart, who have made this particular junction. Zukowski and Cote from Canada. Yuri Zagan was part of the front group, finds himself within this chase, divorced by 44 seconds. The third group really does have the remainder of our stars, but look at this: Sénéchal Pacher and Romain Bardet, all capable of supporting each other. Hermans in support of course, Evenepoel. They've got Standerwolf as well. Icon for the Netherlands. Jai Hindley has dug in here as well. That will bring great joy to Robin McEwen if he's watching in. I'm sure he is. Taking these turns, and the pace is just starting to ease a little bit, but it's almost like the calm before the storm. Oh, anything but. Just look at the work rate for Spain. They clearly believe, Brian, that they've got an option. They've done a lot of work today. I think they've done most of the chasing.
Which means two things. They're super confident on the rider they've got, or they keep on making mistakes, and I think it's the latter. They keep on missing out in the wrong place at the wrong time, forced into chasing. You do not want to be doing this, but unfortunately their hand has been forced because they aren't represented in front.
It's a lethal thing, Tom. Just getting it wrong momentarily, it can happen to you.
Yeah, I think this would have been the perfect move for them to have put someone in so they could give their guys a bit of a rest now, because it's the same guys pulling that were pulling earlier in the day, which means that it's going to be really difficult for them to have a huge impact on a fresh group, to be honest with you.
Well, fresh is something you can't really apply to anybody, is it, today? Despite the fact the weather's been fantastic. The wind looked like it may well be picking up just a bit, but has ebbed yet again. And this front group now asking questions of themselves, and possibly, I think, kicking themselves. If they'd worked more cohesively, could they have done more, Brian?
I think so, but it's all in their battle plan. There's riders in front following a plan for someone else further back down the road, and then there's others, trying to get what they can out this race. So it's each to their own. But back to the Spanish team, they have come with a strong team. We've mentioned Garcia Cortina and potentially Marc Soler. Well, they're not the sort of riders that I wouldn't think would be up there, battling it away with Pogacar and Van Aert, Michael Matthews, Gourmay, Alaphilippe, and the likes. They kind of punchy riders. So it's the fact that they've missed out. But like Tom said, their best option is getting involved with the racing, getting riders in the moves, forcing the other teams. By putting riders in the moves, it saves your team a little bit, having the numbers and looking for that opportunist move in the last lap. Well, by playing it wrong, and their options are lower anyway. So I just think that there's a few teams here getting it completely wrong. One team that haven't done anything yet, I know Great Britain have been there and thereabouts, and they've got a couple of riders in that front group. Denmark, we've not talked about. They put one rider in that group in front, but they've sat back a lot.
Certainly have. And I'm actually just looking at the clock. I've been keeping tabs on it. Group 2 are getting closer to those out front, so they're closing that gap. But with Spain as part of the chase from the larger group, Group 3, things just hold. We'll see whether that changes a little bit deeper. Yeah, there are teams. We were talking about those who've been anonymous, and certainly Denmark must be counted amongst those. Mikkel Honoré started the day as many people's, or one of the outside picks, and possibly the strongest within that Danish team. But to be honest, when you look through them, they're rack full of talent, and indeed opportunity. So will they take it a little bit later on? We don't know. Shortly, we're going to be hearing from, we will have the return of Adam Blythe, who has been extraordinarily busy today. And we've got Rob Hatch, who is coming back in to call us home as well. He looks like he's actually tanked up with coffee, to be honest. Good lad. He's giving me the cheers at the moment. He'll be with us shortly. 23 seconds. The gap's starting to just close in, Brian. So this could turn into, I think there'll be a couple of riders from that front group who will actually stay with it. But I think it's going to break down. And then 25 holding steady back in the main group. But as we look at this chase, this is quality.
It is, with Seneschal here and Stan de Wolf kind of driving it along. Italy not willing to push, although they've got a couple of riders in here. They may not have the right riders. I think they've got 3 riders in here. So I think the front group will be happy to, or some of them will be happy to see, because it means that, you know, Peter Sarre, who's been at the front all day doing very, very little, will now come into play, which will give Belgium another player at the front of the race. So, you know, by having these riders in front, now that the catch is going to be made quite quickly, it gives some of the stronger nations, you know, another rider to bring into the fold to help out the chasing or the riding at the front. And then we remember that kind of famous 5 of Seri, O'Connor, Batut, Stella, Plapp and Sivakov. Well, they're now going to come into play now as we get to nearer 60 kilometres go to the finish. With the gap now hovering at a minute and a half, with bunching up in the peloton, nobody really taking real control. We had Spain there, but yeah, when this junction is made, let's see what happens, because Belgium and France are now in a nice situation.
They certainly are. I think it's livening up. I think with the 3 laps remaining, this day is going to explode into a frenzy. So it's probably a very good time for me to take a bow and say thanks very much for your company. I've really enjoyed it today. Rob Hatch rejoins us. I can't wait to see how this pans out.
It has been fascinating since the start of the day. It was fascinating before there was even a pedal stroke today. Nightmarish for one team. And we're about to see what's happened. Thanks, Carlton. We have just over 60 kilometres to go. This is the head of the race. Samuele Battistella has been in it for a while. And with 60 Ks left, Remco Evenepoel has a 1 minute head start on everybody else. And he also has 3 domestiques. Brian, how did that happen?
In the blink of an eye, Rob. It's one of these situations where the Netherlands came up, everybody saw it happening, but it was France that took it on. And I just think that there's a lot of riders in this race sitting back and waiting. And that's normally the case in the World Championships, where you wait until the last couple of laps, especially the last lap, save as much as you can. But sometimes you have to get involved. And we've seen Wout van Aert was involved earlier on today. Now we see Remco Evenepoel. And that's the case. Sometimes it's known, and you have to ride your luck a little bit, knowing whether to push on or not, saving that little bit of energy, you know, going up a couple of gears or just pedaling and staying in the group, closing that gap or not closing the gap. It's all these decisions that are made on the road without race radios, thinking for yourself. And I just said a moment ago that I still think France, with numbers here, have put themselves.
And I'll repeat it, Remco Evenepoel has over a minute head start on most of his competitors. He has 3 domestics with him. One is Seri, the other was De Wolf. This now is Quinten Hermans. Belgium are riding brilliantly.
They are riding brilliant. This is a proper, we've got a good race in our hands here. This is proper. The group that's gone off the front, I just can't believe it's gone off the front for one. The riders that are in it, Remco's in it, 2 teammates in there, as you mentioned, with him. You got Quintana in there as well, Jai Hindley in there, Lysenko in there. It's a proper group off the front which could go to the finish. They've got a minute 18 till the back group. Belgium's got riders in there, so they're going to chase. French are well represented. It's hard to see, not what might happen, but I can't imagine a chase from this back group. I can imagine attacks with a chase. The riders in that back group will start to struggle more and more. Here we go, here's the first one coming up, but you can just see in the road there, they're all sort of spread across the road, backed up. You've got one of the riders from Belgium on the front, but he isn't going to ride too hard with Remco at the front. So this is 59k to go. It's not too long. Jake Stewart just getting distance a little bit out the back there as well. In the group, you're going to get the favourites coming across to this group, not a big group of riders coming back to that group. Quintana dropped, that's a surprise.
And Ben O'Connor as well, as now Remco Evenepoel is at the front, driving and flying. 1:21 of a lead. That counter-attack, by the way, came from Roger Adrià, Catalan rider who's just come out his first Vuelta España. And I think Spain will be kicking themselves because they're one of the teams that's worked all day. And at the moment they had to make the move, they completely missed the move. Sleeping when that just drifted off and suddenly had a minute.
The thing, I think it was, people could see it coming. The racing had already kind of started. Pasha from France had instigated it. And I think that's the option you've got. When you've got 2 strong leaders, Belgium come in here with Evenepoel and Wout van Aert. And I do think that we're starting to see, back in the group behind, a little bit of kind of marking out Wout van Aert and Pogacar and Matthews and Gourmet looking at each other. And it's given Evenepoel that opportunity, and he's got teammates to be able to help him, and he's doing a lot of it himself now.
Remco Evenepoel's gone off the front.
Wow.
Having a whale of a time, isn't he? He will be if he wins.
I think that's a sperm whale by the looks of things. I've watched Frozen Planet.
I thought it was basking shark.
No, it's not. Blowholes too. Sharks don't have blowholes. Anyway, back to the race.
Adam Attenborough. Here's the lesser spotted Remco Evenepoel. And now then we've got moves everywhere. Sivakov on the left as we look at it. Evenepoel already given a dig on that descent. The gap is growing to the group behind. 1 minute 30 now as Lysenko is in here. I think it's still a fair sized group, about 20 riders, 25, Adam.
It is, but with these attacks like Sivakov's putting, it's not a real attack. It's just trying to put the place on, trying to split this group up. With it being 60k to go, the favourite's still in here. You can see no one really wants to commit riding. Everyone wants to stay as fresh as they can. They know this is going to come down a little bit, this gap, but just how much? And with that, a French rider on the right-hand side, Pacher attacking, no one is really going to want to commit. So we'll keep getting these 1s and 2s attacks, and it's just the one that sticks. But if they don't, it's going to be stop, start, which ultimately will help that group behind.
Yeah, I think one thing you don't want to be doing at this stage now is being lulled into this stop-start stuff. That hurts your legs a little bit more than, riding in the group behind, where they're actually chasing at a good, strong tempo.
Do you think that was too early then from Evenepoel to go like that over the top then?
He's going again. I think this is typical Remco, and this is what we didn't see in the Vuelta.
They had the reins on, didn't they, in the Vuelta? They were holding him back.
They held him back, and I think this is what we love Remco for, these long-range attacks, getting stuck in there. So I can imagine the excitement within him now. It's not just that it's the Worlds. He doesn't want to tow these people along. He's realised it's stop-start, and he wants to get away. He wants to race like this. This is what he does. This is how he grew up racing, just going on the attack early and getting rid of it. The problem with him now is that everyone's aware of that. Everyone's aware that if they can stay with Remco, they can just follow him, sit on him, and not give him anything, really, because they can't. If you start giving Remco turns, it ain't going to end well for you. He's a strong boy.
Yeah, that's the trouble with Remco. He doesn't like being with anybody. He likes to be alone, and that's where he's most happy. But, you know, Lysenko having a dig here, and, you know, this is splitting up, but I think Remco's now playing his cards now. He's putting a lot of energy into, you know, racing. Well, he knows that Wout van Aert is kind of sitting behind, but like Adam was saying now, this is what he knows best. Just let him off the leash. And as we can see, nobody's chasing.
Well, Pascal Eenkorn was hovering at the back there. If he starts to lose contact with that group, then you'd imagine that someone will be trying to get a message to Netherlands that they'd have to work. But it's growing now to nigh on 2 minutes. And I think these are really crucial moments. Everyone's talking about the climb, haven't they, in Mount Pleasant? But it's here on the flat where this gap is growing now, Adam.
For me now, GB need to get on the front. This is the time where Great Britain need to get on the front. Throw all your eggs into the basket of Fred Wright, Ethan Hayter. Use what you've got left within that peloton and just bring this down as fast as you can, as much as you can. The riders in the front now. Tullett is there. You've got Jake Stewart, who's just dropped ever so slightly. You've got 2 leaders within that back group still. Not one of them's in that group. They need to get on the front. They need to start bringing this back. Try and get other people to ride as well. Teams ride. Uri Sargent's on the front, as you mentioned, Rob. He's just riding for his brother, but one person against an attacking Remco, Bardet, Lysenko, it ain't going to do anything.
No, and the other thing here, you got so many passengers here. I think Australia, they're putting all their cards in one basket, and that's Michael Matthews, because Jai Hindley over on the left-hand side there, he's just following. A lot of followers here, and they're just happy with the situation. They'll realise that the road captain's almost 2 minutes behind, or the potential race leader. And it's all this stop-start. Now with no racing at all, we're bowling along here, and then we're going to see some more attacks. That hurts you a lot in the last kind of 50, 60 kilometres.
Yeah, and what Remco's done there as well on that climb, going too hard over the top of it, pushing on too hard. Acorn's gone over the top. Remco then has got rid of his teammates. If he just rode that little bit easier, kept his teammates with him, kept Standerwolf with him, he'd have had that assistance now. They'd have been able to just keep that constant pace. The gap would have slowly come down, I can imagine. But what he's done there, he's got rid of his teammates, brought a load of guys away with him that don't want to ride with him. So he's put himself in quite a difficult situation.
That's why I wasn't being funny before. That's why I was asking if Remco had gone a little hard, a little too early, because obviously we were talking, just as I introduced my sort of last segment there, and introduced you, Adam, that Belgium had this deluxe position where they had the Wolf, they had Seri, they had, who else did they have? Well, the man who was on the podium in Liège this year, Quinten Hermans was there as well.
Yeah.
They're just slowly coming back now. It's interesting to see what's going to happen.
It was the wrong time.
Sorry, Brian.
It was the wrong time, because he could have used those teammates. They could have driven it a little bit longer in the flats, and they could have gained a little bit more time, and then Evenepoel could have went out and played with 40 kilometres ago. But the thing is, nobody can change the way he races. He likes to race. He's a boy racer, and we don't want to take that away from him, but sometimes it needs a cool head now, and he's getting overexcited, and he is the enemy in this front group to everybody. He is the enemy.
3 French, 3 Belgians, 3 Italians are back. Decent numbers for 3 of the big nations.
Is Seneschal back in there? I've not seen yet. He was dropped on the climb, I think, but I'm not sure he's back in there.
No, he would be the 4th Frenchman if he were to make it across. Same with Standerwolf as well. That would mean 4 Belgians. So 52 kilometres to go. This is Simon Pelot. He has Peter Seri on his wheel. Of course, Pelot is one of 2 Swiss in this group, the other being Mauro Schmidt, who's a really interesting rider to watch if everybody in that group looks at each other.
This is the hard bit now with Belgium. They've got two leaders. You've got one out the front, but team rules are team rules. You generally don't chase your team leader down. But in this situation, Wout van Aert isn't coming all the way to Australia to ride round and finish wherever he finishes. He's not
we're not going back there again, are we?
We're not going back there, but at the same time, you kind of have to go back there. No matter what anyone says, he ain't going to be happy with this. He has to try and get away from that peloton. He has to try and attack them. He has to try and take the other favourites with him so they can work together properly and catch this group up. By doing that, it's not the wrong thing to do and it's not the right thing to do, but he has to do something.
Fascinating. Even in the down moments, it's been fascinating, wondering what was going to happen and when. And there's still 51.5 kilometres to go. We still have.
Let's say 50k, it's being relentless from.
Well, it looks pretty relentless now. I know we've just been on a downhill section, but
it's not too bad. This course it lends itself to fast riding. It's hard, but there's also these big wide roads at the top of the climbs where there's a couple of corners where naturally the peloton will string out quite a lot, but there's not a lot of dead corners where these riders really have to sprint out of. There's a lot of flowing corners. I think there's only 2 or 3 where they really have to make an acceleration. The rest of them, you can use the speed to basically freewheel around the corners, use the speed, duck and dive a little bit. And as I mentioned before, when you do this course so many times, you'll learn each corner where you can gain that little bit of speed, where you can avoid a certain pothole maybe. There's a different line around it that not everyone's seen, and that's where you can save that little bit of energy. So it's a fast course, I'd say.
Some guys are as well, like just better at that kind of circuit race thing, when they have in their mind, like at this point I want to be here, at this point I want to be there. Talking about Alberto Bettiol, I mean, those Italians do, like as youngsters, do so many amateur races that finish on circuits.
Yeah.
They all have the mentality for it. I think that's why they are always competitive at races like the Worlds, because it is different. You know, it's not one point, it's a repetition of over and over and over again.
It is amazing as well with the different teams. It's, Dan Lloyd, who's occupied elsewhere, is just continuing to try and improve his handicap. He's at a wedding, by the way, the wedding of Tom Last. I understand. Is it being officiated by Matt Stevens?
I think it is, yeah. I think it is indeed. He'll probably be in bed, well, knowing Dan, he'll probably be up now watching the Worlds.
He probably will. Is Matt Stevens ordained, or is he I forget what it is, in a legal
Legend.
sense?
Legend, I think, is the word.
We know that.
It's probably a humanist.
He may well be just a captain of a ship or something. Who knows? Well, let's talk about the cohesive nature of some of these teams and some not. Remco Evenepoel and Wout van Aert, all kinds of arguments in the past as to who was going to be gain principal status. Evenepoel, of course, doing spectacular things in La Vuelta. I'm just wondering whether that indeed is enough for him to get a free hand, and whether he's capable of doing that. But Italy used to be a team that was bedeviled by infighting and not so much intrigue, really. They just couldn't settle themselves, I'm afraid. And finally, it seems that once Davide Cassani took over, and maybe the previous incarnation as well, they really have come together as one of the most cohesive units, I think, within cycling Italy. They go on training camps, they take the track and the road people together, they take the juniors and the elite riders together. It's a proper unit. I do worry about the divisive nature within some teams, and it didn't serve Belgium very well last year. I'm hoping that they've sort of buried the hatchet this time.
No, I mean, I think it's always going to be really difficult when you have two huge champions like that, because they obviously both want to win. I mean, in the press now, they've been saying the right things and they're cozying up to each other. And I mean,
it's all a lie.
You've got to think that Remco's going to go first. And then Wout has to kind of sit and wait behind and gamble on people coming back to him. I think personally, I think Remco, if he does get a lead, is going to be super difficult to catch.
On this course, definitely. I think if they don't give Remco that opportunity in sort of a certain time frame, in the sort of kilometres between 30 kilometres and 15 to go the last time up the climb, that's when you can try. If they don't do that and they just say you can race how you want to race, I think that'll benefit Wout more, because that'll take the pressure off him a little bit. We've seen Wout in the past, he races himself into the ground. Wout van Aert will take Wout van Aert out of the race almost. And I think with Remco there, if they give him that opportunity when he wants, that will completely take the pressure off Wout and hopefully give him that opportunity more where he stays calmer. He doesn't have to do all the chasing. He doesn't have to do all the work. So it could benefit him massively.
The question for me would be let's say they both miss it, whether Remco then is the guy who closes the gap. Because that would be an interesting thing to see, because if they get to a point where Cosnefroy or Alaphilippe or somebody else has gone on the final climb, because the key to winning this race as a sprinter is having somebody to close a gap after the final climb. And I thought Tish Benoot would have been the perfect guy for that, but he's obviously out of action. So then if it has to become Remco, does he want to do that job? And that's a big question mark.
It's a big ask as well, to win a Grand Tour and then come and win a World Championship. Eddie Merckx did it, so did Greg LeMond.
Annemiek van Vleuten.
Yeah.
Won 3 of them in the same year. Indeed.
Well, if Remco Evenepoel does the job, that would be spectacular. But I think he's bound to be carrying a bit of fatigue from what was an amazing performance during the Vuelta. You loved it, Adam. I think we all did. But a shame he didn't really have a foil to work against, I think, once Primož Roglic, of course, was out of the race. But how much do you think Remco Evenepoel left behind on the Vuelta? It wasn't that long ago.
I honestly, from history, I'd say that he wouldn't be too fresh. But cycling's changed so much. Kids are coming through, not kids, but really young riders where...
Whippersnappers.
Yeah, whippersnappers. But with their powers of recovery, they just keep amazing. Each year, they just keep amazing me how quick they can recover. So if this was 5 years ago, I'd probably say, yeah, he will be a little bit fatigued. But now I can't really put my finger on how fatigued he's going to be. I think he'll be flying. I think the time trial showed that he's still on good form. He's still fresh. He didn't go home after the Vuelta. He came straight out to the World Championship. So it's hard to say, but I think he'll probably be in some of his best conditions still.
We're climbing again on this roller coaster of a course. Given for some dramatic riding, we've seen plenty of that already today. I suspect we're going to see plenty more of it too. We are, for those of you who are just joining us, we had a dramatic start to today. A bit of a rolling course right from the very beginning as we headed down to start. 2 laps, to be honest, 2 different laps. One, of course, involving Mount Kira. That's where the French national team really went for it. Dug in. They're more numerous than any other team here with 9, having the defending champion in Julien Alaphilippe as well as defending champion. We'll be hearing from Remco Evenepoel in a short while. The French team really investing in this race, digging extraordinarily deep and blowing it apart, essentially. We had an enormous breakaway of, I think it was 57 riders, chasing after a group of 10 who'd gone off and up the road. That's all amalgamated. We've had a secondary break as well. And now we've settled ourselves into, not exactly a formation, but certainly a day to reckon with, especially if you happen to be amongst those who've been caught in a secondary group. And the chase at the moment is at 5 minutes and 42. And that's where most of the favourites now remain. It was interesting as well to see some of the bigger names, Tom, getting up the road and doing some work. Tadej Pogačar just didn't seem afraid of the distance or indeed investing heavily at the top of the day.
No, you saw a lot of the favourites really taking it on much earlier than you'd expect. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, I think, in the later stages.
Well, let's hear from Remco Evenepoel, shall we? A man who's been quiet so far, but we know how loud he can get.
Remco, after La Vuelta, after the TT full gas, still at the top of your shape?
Well, it's difficult to say now, but I hope. We'll see. I definitely feel a bit fresher in my body than I did last week. So, yeah, it's a long race. So I think I just can stay fresh until the final laps.
And is that a circuit that you like?
Maybe the circuit in particular, no, but the race is very long. So I think the race is going to get less and less explosive towards the ends, and maybe that's something that should suit me, that there's going to be a lot of fatigue in the final laps.
And the fact that there is one climb, does it make that maybe other parts of the circuit more dangerous to let riders escape?
Yeah, I think it's not only the climb. I think the last races really show that there's these moments of silence during the race that are dangerous. So that's something that we have to be careful of and maybe use.
The experience of last year and maybe the controversies also of last year helped you to come here with less pressure or more pressure? What do you think?
Yes, I think we know what we have to do with the team, with Wout and myself as leaders, and I think the plan and the strategy is known very well between the guys, and we all know what to do today.
You know, he's still only 22, and Remco Evenepoel speaks like he's... Well, it's an extremely familiar voice now, to be honest. When you conjure up in your mind the likes of Peter Sagan, you can kind of hear that hornet in a jam jar, can't you? And the voice of Remco Evenepoel now, it's extremely familiar to me, Adam.
It is very familiar indeed, the voice of Remco. He's very good at interviews, though, in giving almost the right word. And he's very mature. Yeah, you can. He's almost too perfect in a kind of way, especially after the Vuelta. But yeah, he's such an interesting character. But he's got a very mature head on young shoulders, I'd say.
Tommy, he kind of seems at peace with himself after what's been a very difficult period since his injury.
Yeah, I mean, he seems relaxed now. But like, I think, winning a Grand Tour
success,
put him in, a different league now. I mean, on top of Liège-Bastogne-Liège as well this year. So he's already had a lot of success, and I think that's, like, you can see in his body language, he looks relaxed, confident.
Their back pocket. He's gone nowhere, and I think
is there looking menacing. He starts to put a little bit of pace on the front, and immediately there's more of a reaction. There's Mart Soler, who appears alongside him, Biniam Girmay, and Soler it is who's going to follow the next move, and it's going to come from Valentin Madouas of France. Alaphilippe not too far away. A couple of riders from Italy there. Bettiol is the most advanced man, and this is it. It's exploding behind. All change with 42 Ks to go.
Yeah, Narvaez is there. Look how good Alaphilippe's looked, just cruising along. And look at the difference in the speed here. Just cruising up this climb. Everyone together. No one dropped from that group in the front. Remco looking cool as a cucumber. But all the favourites starting to move. And this is what we expected. There's half a minute being taken off at the bottom of this climb. By the top of it, probably be another 15 seconds. So down to a minute and 15. But who will be left at the top of that? Wout van Aert just sat pretty in the wheels as well.
There certainly will be less left in the group after this. They will be shaking out the deadwood. Narvaez, you mentioned, he's sitting alongside Wout van Aert and Binyam Girmay. Here is Madouas. Sagan still up there. Could he be the man? A reminder that tonight, if Sagan wins in World Championship turns, he is in a league of his own. Nobody ever has won 4 world titles.
Just looking at the face on it. Sorry, Brian, go on.
This is where you want to be in the breakaway, because they've gone up there about 40-odd seconds slower than the peloton. This is what we're talking about, is that all this kind of trying to save energy. Go with the attacks, get yourself in front, like Evenepoel is, because the riders in the peloton, Madouas has now come to the front. Pogacar was just looking, he wasn't totally committed, but this peloton has gone up this climb. It's only a short climb, 40-odd seconds quicker than the riders in front.
Trentin was still there or thereabouts, wasn't he? Matthews. I also saw Dylan van Baarle, who was in and around those 3 or 4 riders.
Christophe Laporte was in there. Fred Wright just off the back of that little group as well. So all the riders we're expecting to be in there are in there. I've not seen Ethan Hayter yet from Great Britain come through. I think he was just coming over the top of that climb then, but a more of a select group coming to the fore.
The 2-minute gap has been not quite destroyed, but almost halved. Interesting to see how long it takes for that message to get to the front, and if there's a reaction. Of course, can there be a reaction on a flat, Brian? Is it going to be sort of people not understanding each other? I think that USA are pretty unhappy with things at the minute.
I think there will be some action in the flat, because nobody wants to go up there at that tempo the next lap, because they know it's going to happen. You want that buffer. The riders that are here in front, okay, they just rode up that together. They had an easier ride up that climb, especially where we are in the race at the moment. 40 kilometres to go to the finishing line. We talked about the stop-start racing. Well, they kind of nullified that by taking it easier on the climb. But like you said, the peloton is where it was going to happen. You know, I still think that's where the winner is going to come from. But you know, the race has started in earnest here, and so many other nations are trying to look at the opportunities here now.
Lutsenko makes the move at the front. He's being chased down by Paschal. And on the right-hand side, we're also getting a little looking around, a little regrouping. And that's the situation, Adam, over the top. Everyone's a little uncertain. Who's here? Who's where? What's the group? What's the gap? It's fascinating tactically already with 40 Ks to go.
No one wants to commit to it. We've seen how
The right-hand side, we're also getting a little looking around, a little regrouping. And that's the situation, Adam, over the top. Everyone's a little uncertain. Who's here? Who's where? What's the group? What's the gap? It's fascinating tactically already with 40 Ks to go.
No one wants to commit to it. We've seen how quickly that has come down. I think in the peloton it'll be a case of regroup again, get everyone back together. Let's get the domestiques back on the front, lead into the climb again, and then we'll have another go. They just don't want to let it drift out once again to 2 minutes. It's back down to 1 minute and 10. It'll probably drift back out to 1 minute and 40. Fred Wright now, here we go. Fred Wright followed by Simon Clark, and that's Dillier, I think, following him from Switzerland as well. Pacher once again as well from front.
Is going to follow. Trentin. This is fascinating.
I think with Fred there, I think he realised that on that climb there, he was kind of suffering a little bit. That seemed to me as a move that maybe I've not got the legs on the climb. I'm going to take an opportunity in here, maybe kind of try and slip it away in a group on the easier part of this course.
Waiting for the next to go. Mind you, looking at the main group behind right now. Italy hovering on the left-hand side. Number 73 moving up, Ballerini. He has Christophe Laporte on his wheel. There too, number 27 is Bauke Mollema. And riders dropped. Gone. This is the group.
Yeah, Ethan Hayter's here.
Lysenko solo now. Oh.
So Alexei Lutsenko, but there are riders chasing. Looks like Remco Evenepoel.
It's a good move this to try and get away from them. They know the gap's coming down, wants to get that little bit of a buffer. You can see Remco behind, as you mentioned, Rob. But the effort that Lysenko would have to put in on his own to get up that climb again before they catch him, I don't think he'd be able to do so. He's a very capable climber, very good climber. You can see it splitting behind, but ideally just one or two guys with him where he can just use them, get the little bit of recovery where they can work together and get over that next climb. Because I do believe if he just hovers here at 15 seconds, well, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever it might be, as soon as he gets onto that climb, he'll be swallowed straight back up.
Take a breath, everybody. You're waking up, turning on late, have an extra sip of that coffee. There's all sorts of things we could tell you about that happened overnight, and you wouldn't believe us. You'd think you were being filmed and Jeremy Beadle was about to walk in. It's been that sort of night. Here's Alexei Lutsenko. Then Jai Hindley, the winner of the Giro d'Italia. Matthias Skjelmoser is there in the red as well. Rasmus Tiller is the Norwegian. And this is the back of the lead group with number 117 from Canada. That's Zukowski. 39, just in front of him, is the very gifted Jan Tratnik. 78 there for Italy is Samuele Battistella, former under-23 world champion. 25 riders roughly were in this group. And we've got a big group behind that have got down to 110. It's now grown to 134. And as you can see, Alaphilippe, Fanart, Pogacar, Girmay, they're all still there.
Remco there really painting that target bright red on his back. It already is already, but chasing that just one man down. 2k after the climb, well, 5k after the downhill, 2k on the flat, and just him doing it on his own. Connor Swift here from Great Britain going back to try and get some bottles, some bidons for his teammates. But as I said about Remco, just painting the target on his back. He wants to get away. He wants to be on his own. He wants riders to ride off. Aincorn now on the attack with Sivakov.
This is all happening at the front by him, but we just got our first shot of the peloton for a while behind, and it was foot off the gas, hesitation, nobody was chasing, and the gap's nigh on 2 minutes again.
Yep, it will go up here. I think this is Quinten Hermans trying to come across the gap for Belgium. This is their best option. And I think you have to play that. And, you know, Quinten Hermans should just go with this move. And they go, oh, I've got Evenepoel behind. I've got Wout van Aert. I'm not doing any riding. Peter Serre has done it all day. So I think they have to kind of look at that option a bit better now.
I think it's a brilliant, like you said, Brian, it's a brilliant situation there. If they get that little gap with Quinten Hermans in there, Remco's got the horsepower to jump across to that. 15, 20 seconds. It's all come back together slightly, but Remco would have the horsepower to jump across that, leave the others behind on the climb. Sivakov going once again. It's odd to see on this lap now that they're trying to attack each other. They'll get onto the climb. Instead of attacking on the climb, trying to get away when they rode up it dead easy, they're all attacking on the track, trying to get that little bit of advantage before they get onto the climb again. But just look at that time gap.
Just as I say that, Great Britain commit a man as well. So 2 or 3, they've committed 2 at least there. And we are waiting for Remco's rocket. 2 chasers now.
Mauro Smits, and it looks like Rota for Italy, trying to come across
Italian
here.
champion. The look behind from these 2. Kazakhstan, Belgium, Italy, Switzerland, but there's also another chaser from behind who looks like Skjelmoser.
If Remco could paint a picture of how he wanted this Worlds to go, this is being almost perfect for him right now. Cruising along all day, gets in a group of 25, catches the leading group up with strong enough riders in there. The peloton lost a lot of help within that because the course has been so difficult. So there's not any big riders to chase behind. He's now got away from this group. There's not many things I think he would change if you asked him at the start, how would you like this race to go?
Having Lysenko with him.
Yeah, but
anybody been with him?
I think Lysenko, out of all those riders with him at the minute, is probably the best person to have with him, willing to help him, a capable climber. It just gives him that 10 seconds, little bit of respite, 15 seconds just sat on the wheel for still 31 Ks to go. He'll be welcome to it at the minute. I think if they get on over this climb, if they're still together, then he'll get frustrated, because no doubt he won't be riding as hard as what Remco wants to be. At the minute, I think he'd be quite happy just to have that 10 seconds, 15 seconds, just back off the pedals ever so slightly, especially before this climb. He needs to take that time gap out even more now on this next climb. 2 minutes 15 now back to that group.
On this lap, I guess it's in danger of really going away from them, isn't it?
Yes. It is definitely, yeah. We can see what the peloton's doing. They need, as we spoke about last lap, you need the favourites to go away and you need them to work together. The problem is for the favourites in that group, they don't want to work with each other. And that's the difference. If they want to win this race, they all need to work together. They need to do as they did last time, but commit over the top. Really get together and work flat out, because you've got 3 minutes of climbing, which it can take 30 seconds back. And then you've got the rest of the course, which they can probably take on Remco 5 seconds back. So they really do need to commit sooner rather than later.
I think this time up, Pogacar, if he knows what's happening in front and he's got Tratnik sat in this group, Pogacar needs to go full on and see what happens at the top, who comes with him. But definitely Belgium are in the perfect situation.
2 of the strongest riders in this group to do this kind of riding, to swap turns, put down the watts and hold off a bunch. Of course, they've 2 more ascents of the climb to go, but you just saw that little trio that turned into 4 has slowed and has been reabsorbed by the chasing group. Now, who takes it? Let's see. Closest chasing group looks like this. They were losing ground rather than gaining it. You're looking at Schmidt, Skjelmoser, Rota and Eenhoorn. These 2, though, have put more road between themselves and the chasers than they had before.
This is Remco. This is what Remco does. This is what he likes doing. All that climbing shenanigans at the Vuelta, forget about that. This is what Remco does. I love seeing it as well.
Of course, we're talking about Remco. Alexei Lutsenko's a strong rider as well. Of course, he'd have to hold on with Remco on the climbs, Remco Evenepoel. But Lutsenko knows how to finish the job.
You know, it's good to actually see him riding with Evenepoel. A lot of riders might not, and that's where Evenepoel gets frustrated. So I think Lutsenko doing the right thing and actually riding with him. So this time up, the peloton, they have to light things up in that climb.
Just as you finish saying that, hang on, just as you finish saying that, Brian, it's almost 2.5 minutes now.
Yeah, I do and I don't. I think for Lysenko, the way that Remco's been climbing, Lysenko's obviously in good form, but if I was Lysenko now, I'd just say, look, mate, I'm just sitting on you. I'm really sorry, mate. If you want to get rid of me, drop me, but you're too strong. You're going to drop me on the climb, and I don't want to be dropped. So I'm really sorry, but I'm just going to sit on you, because what Remco showed recently in the Vuelta, the past of his history of racing, Liège attacking solo, I would just be sat on him and just say, nope, not a chance. No way. I know it's not a nice thing to do, but if he wants to win this bike race, he is going to have to upset a few people, and one of them being Remco, I think.
Now look behind, and Netherlands have started to contribute to the chase. We said it was getting almost out of hand, 2.5 minutes. They're going to work. France are committed with Seneschal. Great Britain have 2 riders in the chase here, and the Dutch also adding their man too. This is where it all started. Up in the hills, the Illawarra escarpment, Mount Kira, where France sent their first man to work. Seems like an age ago, doesn't it? And all the drama overnight before we started too. Situation on the road with 27.5 kilometers to go, heading to the penultimate ascent of our main mountain is this. Evenepoel alongside Lutsenko, 21 seconds of a gap, 57 to the rest of the group, 2:32 to what's left of the peloton. They have a sensational advantage here,
This
and
might
they're
be
working
it.
together well. So then they break up behind, they desperately try and save their race wherever they can, get themselves back into it. But it's Evenepoel and Lutsenko, both with rainbow jerseys in the youth categories, looking to try and take it for the seniors. It's been a good Worlds for Kazakhstan so far. They took the under-23s with Fyodorov. And, of course, the Belgians, they've had medals and medals. They're looking for the rainbow, though. And Evenepoel, after his bronze in the time trial, is trying to time trial away alongside the man from Kazakhstan. So look round here from Lutsenko and Evenepoel. This is just on the lower slopes of Mount Pleasant. This is the Dumfries Avenue section before they swiftly go downhill and then take on the 1.1 kilometers with a really steep ramp, well above the 12% that's in the race manual, by the way. And behind, this is what it looks like.
It's quite amazing to see on the easier parts of the course where Remco's been able to get away. Not even, okay, through power, and he's able to get away because he's fast in his aero and he's intelligent in picking that moment. But if you're in that group, you have got one job to do. Don't let Remco get an inch. Do not let him move. As soon as he jumps, go with him. And I know you have to have the legs to do it, and it's over and over again. He tried once, and then his teammate went up the road, Hermans, and he tried once more, and that was it. Bang. 2 times on that second lap after the climb when he was able to get away. The riders are now just on the back foot chasing him. That 2:29 back to Remco, I'm struggling to see coming down now. 25.9 k's to go. They're just going to have to ride flat out, no playing around in that peloton. Get on with it, work together, country with country to bring him down. And obviously that ain't going to happen for Belgium because they're in the front. It is going to be hard to bring back.
A few more riders who were in that original morning break have been dropped out the back, and this could be the moment that Lutsenko sees the back wheel of Evenepoel for the last time. He's been a useful ally to now for the Belgium, but there's a shake of the head there from the man from Kazakhstan. He can't hack the pace. This is Remco Evenepoel on the lower slopes of the penultimate ascension of Mount Pleasant, putting the boot in. This is Remco Evenepoel, possibly on his way to winning the Worlds.
Lutsenko should have sat on him.
Yeah, I was just about to say this is incredible, but it's not really, because, you know, this is what we've seen him doing over the last few weeks. You know, he's just ridden them off the wheel. He's a world-class bike rider, and he's just ridden them off the wheel. He's not even looking behind. He knows where he is. So, you know, Belgium are in a really, really nice situation here, and it really depends on what's left back in the peloton. You know, what's Pogacar got, Michael Matthews, Girmay, what they got left, because they have to come into play. It's not about the nations coming to the front and riding. I don't think they're strong enough. The big players have to come out fighting on this climb now.
I don't think they're going to do it either. 2:26, 25k to go, chasing this man. I just can't see him bringing him back. The way that he'll ride up here, he gets the recovery on the downhill, he can tuck in, get into it on the flat. He's super aero, super efficient with his pedalling and his gearing. I just cannot see it happening.
That gap, 47 seconds, isn't yet, by the way, to Lutsenko. Don't get too excited, but this is Remco Evenepoel riding like a rocket uphill and putting big numbers already. Look down the hill. There is Lutsenko. He's struggling. He's probably about halfway back in that gap to the 49.50 seconds already as Evenepoel turns past Belgium corner. And it has been a decade since they had a world champion in the men's elite division.
It's the first time you look back just at the top there, but I'm in agreement. I don't think anybody's capable of bringing back Evenepoel now. Not in this state. You know, he's riding. He's riding a time trial now. Maybe disappointed with his time trial here at the World Championships, but boy, he's making amends for this today.
He was disappointed. Foss's mates sit behind. In fact, they're sitting behind this group. There's 4 still here who are chasing. This now is the group that 58 seconds.
As we said, I mean, it was 20 seconds at the bottom of the climb. It's 58 now on the tap. Remco is just motoring. Dylan van Baarle now on the front.
At 2 minutes 24. This is the group at 2:24. He has Honoré up there. Just also there is Bettiol. Alaphilippe's looking good. Pogacar. A Seneschal is done for the day.
Yes,
That's
okay,
also Tobias
good.
Foss dropped now. Tobias Foss dropped, the world time trial champion, alongside Heinrich Hausler, the Australian, and the Spaniard there being dropped was Roger Adrià. This, though, is the man that, if he holds on, is world champion-elect.
Well, that was the moment back there in that climb there. If the big guns had, you know, come out fighting there, and it looks as if they didn't. You know, if they want to win this race, they know who's in front. You know, the gap is what it is.
Here we go.
And, you know, it has to happen here. And they have to help each other.
Well, where's Wout going?
This is what he has to do. He has to do this. He has to isolate this group down to the smallest possible group he's got to try and be in with a chance to win this race still. I don't think he's going to do so, but he has to take a select few with him that are willing to chase with him. He's, as I said, he's not come all the way to Australia to just ride round in that group and follow. He needs to go on the attack. He needs to get that group smaller. They need to work together for him. He's got Bettiol with him. I think Alaphilippe's just there in the background as well. Pacher.
Mikel Honoré is the Danish rider from Quick-Step. As we go back to
Pogacar was missing there. He was a lot further back there in about 20th place. But you don't chase your
back to all he
teammates.
did early on.
Yeah, you don't chase your teammate there, but I don't think it was a bad thing because Wout van Aert was hurting a lot of riders there, and you know, by continuing on now is maybe not the right thing to do. He looks around and sees who's there, and everybody else has already gone up there on the limit, and they're going to want to try and recover. Nobody's bringing this man back. Needed a concerted effort from the top guns. The question was asked of Pogacar. He was involved with the move earlier on today, and he had to do one of his wonderful efforts flat out from bottom to top, take a few riders with him to go across. No, looks as if it's the day of Evenepoel today.
Yeah, he's not got the legs to do that, I don't think. I don't think he can... I just don't think if Pogacar's not there now, he's not got the legs. He'd have been able to jump across to that. There was time enough. Van Baarle setting that tempo on the climb from what we saw, then getting straight back into it. Wout van Aert, as we've said, strung this group out. Trentin coming across with Van Baarle there, trying to look at the rest of the riders. But look, the group's all coming back together again. You can take risks on the downhill, make a couple of places up to bring this back together. It's just the question, is this a big enough group? Is it a small enough group to come all back together? It's hard to say if they'll work together or not. Wout van Aert won't be able to do anything. He has to isolate that group, as he just did then, get it down to a small group, get them all working together. They've got a minute until the silver medal at the minute. They've still got a minute, 2.5 minutes to him. So I think Wout van Aert he's allowed to ride. He's allowed to keep things rolling. He's allowed to keep things motivated. So he's in with a chance of still getting a silver medal at this point. But if he starts to sit on, they'll all just stop again. No one's going to sit there and be like, right, we're fine with you sitting on, Wout. That's great.
21 Ks left. you could be looking at the youngest world champion since 1993, when a certain Lance Armstrong won in Oslo. He was 21 then. Remco Evenepoel, just 22 years of age, and already a winner of a Grand Tour.
Get the under-23 jersey as well, wouldn't he? They didn't even take anything out of him on that climb. They've taken 8 seconds out of him.
In a league of his own, Remco Evenepoel riding away. Remco Evenepoel hoping to do a Greg LeMond. Last rider, by the way, to win a Grand Tour and the World Championship in the very same season, 1989. So we've just mentioned a couple of records there in the last couple of minutes that have both stood since either the late 80s or early 90s. If you didn't think Remco Evenepoel was special enough, there's a little bit more evidence for you.
A minute on these guys.
Somewhere in the middle is Alexei Lutsenko, of course, but we haven't seen him for a while. We don't have a time gap on him. He was only going one way, though, the last time we saw him, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think that it might be a minute back to him and a minute 17 to that group of 4 riders there. These guys are not too far behind, though. You know, that group of 4 in front with Acorn, Skelmos, Rota and Smith in there. If they work together nicely.
I have a feeling this is the 1:16 group.
Yeah. This course as well, I think if you're feeling good on this course, you can definitely gain a lot of time, but as soon as your legs go bang, I think that's it. There's no coming back from it because it's so quick, it's so fast after the downhill that the gaps open up quickly, and then straight onto fast, flat roads. If riders are working together well, it's going to be very, very difficult to bring back.
Still, that gap's 2:27 and growing again to Van Aert, Alaphilippe, Pogacar and company. Not too far from the bell ring now. He's approaching that final passage of the finish before the finish photograph that at the minute will be all over the Belgian papers tomorrow.
Think of that party. Vuelta party and Worlds party.
Well, he hasn't actually been. He hasn't been back to Belgium since he won the World Tour. So just imagine the reception.
As I said, my neck, my back is hurting just thinking about that party.
That's, by the way, Kevin Gignac on the right-hand side waving his arm, the rider from Luxembourg. He wants to get more organisation here, but I think he's fighting a bit of a losing battle, isn't he, Brian?
I think they all are. I have to say it's been
brilliant.
I have to say that Ben Tulip for Great Britain is doing a great ride today. Just sitting up there in that kind of chasing group, but you know, Evenepoel, incredible. You say what you want about him, but it's really no surprise, is it? What's surprising me is I was expecting that last time up. It was the only opportunity anybody from the bunch had. That was the opportunity to go, and all we saw was Wout van Aert. No one else. Everybody else is following. Go over the top of the climb, and that was it. And they've made absolutely no inroads whatsoever. So this is like a lap of honour.
It is Wout van Aert attacking, Brian. They might not be able to do anything apart from follow.
Yeah, but I don't.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I really don't think that he's got any. He never came here, like you said earlier on, Adam. He's not come all the way to Australia just to try and win silver.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he's went there and dented a few riders' hearts there. He went up there quite hard. I know it's not chasing the rider in front. It's all about hurting the other riders.
The bell is about to ring. One more lap remains. You might already be looking at the world champion. 22-year-old Remco Evenepoel, who this year has won a monument, a Grand Tour, and now he's very close to touching the rainbow. One lap to go, Evenepoel with a big gap.
An enormous gap. 2:25 until that peloton.
And I said this right at the start of our final stint when we came on. it just happened out of nowhere. How on earth, a lot of the guys will be asking this question later, how on earth was Remco Evenepoel allowed to slip away and have a minute and a half head start with 4 domestiques with 60, 70 Ks to go?
Well, this is our point of view all the time, isn't it? Is that we always say this, looking from this comfy seat that I'm in now, and say, how on earth he's done that? All he had to do was follow Remco. This isn't by luck that he's got away, not whatsoever. He's done this time and time again in many, many different races, that he's just been able to use his power to ride off the front. We questioned why he was attacking so much on the flat, this, that and the other, but ultimately he went on the flat, coming into the finish, almost on a downhill. He just picked his moment perfectly, and the response at that time from everyone was just waiting for the next guy to attack. But in that situation, it's like a track sprint. You just have to get on him as quick as possible.
But it's rewinding to that situation before, where he found himself in that group of 25 riders, and you know, France in particular, other teams will think, well, how on earth did we let that happen?
It's the first time
like you say, he is an exceptional rider. He's a special talent. Of course, he's going to ride away from people. That's what he's good at.
He's asking for the time. He's asking for the time gaps. But the thing is, we never saw him the whole race. He never got involved with any of the early action. He just kept his powder dry, followed the move at the right time, and this has been clinical. It's the most clinical World Championship I've ever seen.
Well, this is exactly it. As I said earlier, ask Remco what would be the perfect race for you. A hard race, big breakaway, a couple of teammates in there. I go to group with 25 with Wout van Aert behind, so we don't have to look after him, as harsh as that sounds. A lap to go. I go off the front and do my thing.
And here is the group with Wout van Aert and company.
Given up by the looks of things.
They're at 2:21. They're heading into the final group. Miguel Mirko's on the front there, but there's nobody really pulling, is there? The bell will ring for them. They know the race is ahead. They know they will get the checks. They will be told, certainly when they come through the pits here, turning right. Final time through. Evenepoel is ahead. He has 1 minute and 14 seconds on that quartet. We saw that Lutsenko was well back, getting towards, I'd say, a minute now. Evenepoel has done the damage. He just has to conserve his gap. And let's not forget, he's pretty good at time trialing, isn't he? He was a bronze medalist the other day.
He's
been a silver medalist.
He is the best in the world right now. Winning that Vuelta the way that he did, the time trial that he did there, the time trial at the Worlds, coming into this. And I think Carlton asked the question earlier, how do you think Remco's recovered? We've got our answer. Quite well.
He's looking pretty good, isn't he? And we joked, didn't we, about the fact that he hadn't been back to the Belgian party yet. He hadn't had the music pumping, and I know they'll be building the barriers around Zaventem Airport now for the next couple of days. They will be queuing up to welcome him home as he gets that last little bit of encouragement from Mr. Van Toerenhout. But Patrick Lefevre said, I'm pretty glad that he hasn't gone home. It's good for him. It's good that he doesn't get that sort of crazy stuff already, all of the attention. And this is a done deal, because Lutsenko, as well as he's ridden, will now know, I'm sure, that unless something happens to Evenepoel, something bizarre, then this is it. 56 seconds now to this man. That's the time gap. It's almost a minute for Evenepoel, and Remco Evenepoel is about to break a few records. Remember, only one previous rider's ever won the Junior Worlds and the Senior Worlds. That was Greg LeMond. He was the last man to win a Grand Tour and a World Championship in the same year. And of course, it's been 29 years since someone this young won the World Championships. That was Lance Armstrong in Oslo. So Remco Evenepoel about to write his name and along a load of records and sequences and things like that. But then again, we knew he was sort of destined for this. There was that little doubt after the crash in Lombard. It's taken him a little while to get back. You know, we've had the Remco doubters. Could he do it? Oh, well, the third week in the Grand Tour. He put that to bed, didn't he? Could he do it in a monument? He won Liège in the spring, and here he is at the end of the season, riding away, romping home to a world title.
He's on another level at the minute. It's fair to say he's on another level. This race has been ridden perfectly by him, faultless. You can't put a foot wrong. He's staying hidden, showed himself when he needed to do, and he's just ridden it down to the absolute T.
I think it helped that he get beat in the time trial mentally. I think he came out here with that kind of big goal in mind, and that's kind of motivated him even more. But you know, it reminds me a little bit of when Bradley Wiggins won the Tour de France, and then the whole concentration after the tour was the preparation for the Olympic time trial, and he did that, and at a young age, a lot younger age, Evenepoel was doing exactly that. Winning your first Grand Tour, you know, you want to celebrate it, don't you? And not being able to, you know, getting a phone call from the King of Belgium, but having that focus.
Sunbooning.
Yeah. And having that focus, the real King of Belgium. And
Pettigan.
Yeah. Like you're the King of Yorkshire, but not the real King of
Not
Yorkshire.
Not quite, Brian. Crikey.
Yeah. But, you know, having all that adulation, and then deciding to ride the time trial. Well, Wout van Aert had a different approach. He didn't want to ride the time trial, wanted to focus on the road race. And it's just having that kind of maturity, that mentality, winning the Grand Tour, getting beat in the time trial and coming out here fighting. And you have to say, like I said before, it's been a clinical performance.
Remco Evenepoel is now almost 3 minutes ahead of the peloton. He has 1 minute 2 seconds to Lutsenko, 1:21 to the quartet of Heenkhorn, Skjelmose, Rota and Schmid. And the riders I've just mentioned are now riding for the medals, aren't they, Adam Blythe? Because Evenepoel is on his way to the rainbow jersey.
Yeah, they are indeed. I mean, Lutsenko, if he can hold on, it's going to be a tough task from this group. But at this point in the race, 250k covered. What have they got left in the legs? There's not going to be an explosion of attacks. It's just going to be a grind up this hill. And if you can stay away, great. But there's still that run into the finish as well, where you can make time back for these guys. But second place is still all to play for at the minute. It's going to be difficult for Lutsenko, I think, to hold on to that 20-second lead. But yeah, it's sad to see the peloton, no action really. Two attacks. That's it really. It's been quite dull, to be honest, from the peloton for the terms of what we normally expect of the Worlds.
This is almost like watching him in Innsbruck win the Junior Worlds, just going away and riding away on his own.
It is. It's exactly that.
He had terrible misfortune that day. He was caught in a crash. I think he was almost 2 minutes behind the peloton.
Yeah, he was.
At one point, came up, and I want to see his celebration, whether it's going to be the same, because he finished and held his bike in the air and all guns blazing. So let's watch for this. But I feel as if Lutsenko here, he's in the silver medal position. What does he do? Does he go all out? Does he save that little bit? Because he's got a good enough finish at the end. I'm afraid that on this next climb he's going to suffer, and he could be losing out in a medal, which is a shame because he's the only rider that was able to go with Evenepoel when he went.
If in doubt, flat out. I think the effort that he's putting in now, he'll be flat out. I think if the moment he got dropped, go down the descent, however far he was behind, 20 seconds what he's holding, he'd have made that call earlier, so he could have tried to recover for that climb and bet on the sprint. But I think in the situation he's in, he's just flat out. He's not waiting. He's just trying to hold on to what he's got left. And I cannot remember I've seen a World Championships like this.
No, and I think the closer he gets, the more the other four behind start thinking of that last medal, that bronze medal. Yeah. So, you know, all he has to do is go over this climb with some sort of advantage, because these guys will be thinking, there's four of us, there's one medal left, I want that medal.
He's going to be in esteemed company. Already talked about a few records. But Remco Evenepoel heading into the final 10 kilometres now, and starting the final climb. It's the first little rise to Dumfries Avenue. This is the 12th time he has done this today. He'll then head to Mount Pleasant, and it won't be a misnomer this time. It'll be very pleasant indeed, as long as he holds on, takes on that descent on his own. He's on his way to joining Freddie Mertens and Eddy Merckx in Belgian cycling history as the only two riders so far, about to become a trio, to win Grand Tours and world titles.
Man, he's 22 as well. We forget that he's 22. He could have ridden the under-23 Worlds. It's just... That's another reason why the under-23 Worlds shouldn't be a thing if you've got a professional contract. But anyway, that's another subject. But he is just... What he's done in the past month and a half is incredible.
Yeah, I think the Remco doubters were still out in force until about 5 weeks ago, weren't they? And I could understand why there were some doubters, because, again, he'd never ridden a 3-week Grand Tour before, so there was a whole lot of doubt there. And then coming here, all the talk all year has been about Wout van Aert.
Yeah.
When you look back at the Giro d'Italia, his first Grand Tour, and he kind of fell to pieces in the Strada Bianchi stage. And, you know, that's when you start to get, the doubters. But... You know, he went to the Vuelta, and even in the Vuelta, when Roglic was coming back at him and he started to kind of lose a little bit of time on him. But boy, what, like as Adam says, what a month he's had. What a month as a 22-year-old rider.
And it's been a roller... Go on, Adam.
So I was just saying that what Brian spoke about before, the celebrations and how it's good for him. I think this is the difference with youth now and the younger riders coming through is... He's been professional for the last 3 years, since he was young. He's not had that point like a lot of the elder riders had, where they're into having that downtime, you know, where they're into chilling out, going out with their friends, the uni friends and all that kind of stuff. Remco especially, and I think a lot of the young guys coming through, they're just not really bothered about that now. They're not bothered about having that off-season time where they go out clubbing and all that kind of stuff. He'll just be... very mature in the fact that he'll just stay at home with his family, probably go on a couple of nice holidays, probably take his bike. And I think that is ultimately why these young riders as well, the powers of the recovery they've got, they're able to train so hard, they're able just to dedicate every single part of their life to this.
You say that, Adam, and, you know, tongue-in-cheek, take his bike. It's clear that if you're successful at any sport, you have to love it. And I think it oozes through Evenepoel that he absolutely loves, you know, racing his bike. And we can see that the way he races.
Lutsenko is slipping back. He's just 12 seconds in front of those chasing him. Evenepoel is coming to the top of the final climb of this very tough race. Just a few meters more climbing to go. 4,200 meters he'll climb at the end of the day, 266 Ks, and he's all alone in a league of his own. Evenepoel is going to be the world champ. Eight kilometers to go, and you're looking at the race for the silver medal here. Alexei Lutsenko has a narrow advantage, but he's swinging, he's struggling, he's fighting. They're all tired, though. That's what he's got to remember. They are all tired, and this is proving to be the case behind as Skjelmose starts to lose a little bit of control and slips and slides.
Lutsenko's finishing line is at the top of this climb. If he gets over the top, rolls down the other side, the other four will start looking at that bronze medal.
This is Group 4 on the road. 2:20 to then. Remember, over 3 minutes now to the main peloton.
We could have two Belgians on the podium here. Let's not forget Quinten Hermans. He's been sat on the back a little bit. He's still got to get there. He's still sat on the back of that group now. He's not had an easy ride. He's still got to be at the front, but he's had an easier ride than the rest of them in that group, let's say.
And here's one for you. When Remco Evenepoel won his first monument, there was another Belgium on the podium that day, and it was Quinten Hermans.
There we go.
All the way back in spring. And I think Evenepoel would have signed for this year, wouldn't he? It's been pretty special for him, that.
I have to say in this group as well, Rasmus Tiller has done a brilliant ride to be in this group here, putting himself into that group at the front. They're almost on the back of Lutsenko now. Ben Tullett as well, Tullett, sorry. I mean, all of them, not just single out, but especially Tiller there for a man that is more of a fast man, I think. And in the background, we've got some action. The Italian Rota going on the attack, trying to get Lutsenko.
National champion who's on his way to Bike Exchange. Going to be another adopted Aussie, as you can see behind. Ian Corn is now being left behind. He's fighting, though, to try and stay with them.
Yeah, but they're going deep now. They're trying to close that gap.
I think they needed to do this. They needed to get rid of Eenkhoorn. He's got a little fast finish on him. He's Dutch. All Dutchmen have got a fast finish, but Eenkhoorn, bit of a classic specialist. If he can get on the power down this hill, but look at these downhills. The perspective of that is only 5-6 seconds, but the gap grows so quickly because this steep downhill. For Eenkhoorn now, it would almost put him off in a kind of way. You're like, that gap's grown massively already and knocked the wind out your sails slightly.
What a beautiful scene with the sea behind, the sun shining, the long shadows at the end of a dramatic day in Australia. Remco Evenepoel has made the final lap a non-event, let's be honest. He did the damage on the last lap. It was over in a flash. He'll be being told now that his advantage is as much as 1.5 minutes. They're even taking pictures of him from the car, ready for the official media. They know he's done the job, barring incident or accident. This is Remco Evenepoel approaching the final 5 kilometers of the ride of his life.
It is some ride as well.
He's the man looking for silver. He's got a handful of seconds now. According to this, just 5 seconds ahead. And here they come around the corner. Rota is chasing me. You can see the motorbikes in between. Mauro Schmidt, what a ride he's done today for Switzerland. And this is Matthias Skjelmoser. I know it says Jensen on the graphic there, but it's Skjelmoser. He was so good the other week. First big victory finally in Luxembourg. And he could find himself on the podium of the World Championships.
Could find 2 quick-step riders on the podium of that World Championships as well. Oh.
Kudos to Lutsenko. He has not stopped working. Tank's clearly running close to empty there every time we see him. Well, Evenepoel's going to have time to take in the moment in the final couple of kilometres. He's going to have time to celebrate and enjoy this. Here's that long 3/4 turn for the final time. Cheered on. I know they'll all be watching on their smartphones, on their tablets, on the move. They'll know what's happening. There's big screens at a couple of points on the course. And they will know that Remco Evenepoel has put in a performance that will go down in history today as one of the most dominant, I think, we've seen in recent years in World Championships. Here is Lutsenko about to be caught. And what happens now?
Lutsenko has to sit on. Just needs to try and recover as much as he can. These guys will probably no doubt attack each other. I don't think they'll just be happy, apart from Schmidt maybe rolling into the finish and Rota, but I think they'd have to. You're going to expect attack from these groups for that silver medal.
Look at these crowds. Great day out, great hosts, well played Australia. The curse of the host nation's going to happen again. It happened to Belgium last year. All of the hope were on then. All of the talk about Evenepoel, Van Aert. But only once in the past 40 years has the home nation won. That was Balan in Varese. Today, it's not going to be Australia. Remco Evenepoel with the centre of Wollongong, New South Wales, Australia, in his sights. He is 3 kilometres away from the finish line. He has a gap of 1.5 minutes. He's on his way to winning the world title. He did that at the junior level. He bypassed the under-23s and turned pro. He's since won a Grand Tour and a Monument. He's 22. Guess who else was 22 when he won his first world title? A certain Mr. Merckx. So no pressure, Remco.
He's living up to it right now. I think all the comparisons that we fly around, who's the next Merckx, this, that and the other, it's happened so many times, too many times,
obviously.
Yeah, but I think we've got quite a good comparison. Someone that can do one-day racing and Grand Tours in the way that this man can. It's unbelievable. I think him, Pogacar, are well up there.
Very quickly, Brian, we're living in a privileged era, aren't we, at the minute? I think watching cycling, it's never been better.
It hasn't been better, and I think it's down to technology and data now, because this wouldn't have happened in that era. Producing the numbers, you have to earn your stripes. You have to ride on the front, get the bottles. This is the team leader. Now that the youngsters are are
the peloton
getting
again.
their opportunity.
And we've got moves. I don't know where
It's all
they're going.
come
Oh,
back
wow,
together.
they've caught Ben Tullett. Wow. So they're through that second group now, so they've got that group in front of them. Oh.
And that is Wout van Aert sitting on the wheel of Alberto BDHO. But a long way up the road, over 2.5 minutes up the road, is Remco Evenepoel into the final 2 kilometres now.
When did that happen?
Oh, watch their fight for the medals, maybe. Or at least the fight for the top 10 positions in just a moment. Might be a big ask for the medals. They've still got another minute to catch yet. But depends how much they look at each other in that group of 4 now chasing on. But moving uphill for the final time is Remco Evenepoel, being cheered, feted, admired and enjoyed. He has put in a performance to savour today as the young Belgian. Gents, a final word from you as we approach the final K.
I mean, chapeau. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
What else can you say what they were not said already for the last month? That he's exceptional. Not going to do any comparisons. This is Remco Evenepoel. Simple as that.
Here he goes then.
He is putting himself into being one of the greats at 22 years of age.
Red kite, Flamme Rouge, 1 kilometre to go for Remco Evenepoel. Long talked up as the next big thing. Yes, another. Next, Eddy Merckx. Well, he's going to be the same age as the great when he won his title. Now he realises, now he shows us. A shake of the head, a smile, a punch of the air. It's been quite a dramatic day. Possibly an understatement in Australia. All of the off-the-bike incident that effectively took out one of the protagonists, one of the favourites. Then the French launching it early on. The breakup of the race. Evenepoel himself going and then building a big gap. But he's about to take the final turn, see the finish line. And after Remco reigned in Spain, a first Grand Tour for Belgium for 44 years. It's going to be a first world title in a decade. Remco Evenepoel. It's a year late, but cycling is coming home. Belgium have it. Belgium have it. It's Rainbow Remco. Evenepoel, the world champion in Australia. He's reached the top. And there is nobody who's his equal today. A dominant performance. One that you are unlikely to see very often at all. He left them all in his wake. And Rainbow Remco is the world champion. Remco Evenepoel, at 22, is the youngest world champ for 29 years. He's the first to win a Grand Tour and a rainbow jersey in the same year since 1989. And you can reel off the records. But this is what it means. Pure emotion for Evenepoel. Pure delight back home in Belgium for a country that is in love with the sport. And there's still medals to play for. They look around and there's a group chasing on behind here. This group, though, it's Rota, the Italian champion in the blue. Behind him, red with the white stripes, it's Skjelmos the Dale. The Danish rider there wearing 45. It's almost track stand stuff. Here's Lutsenko, who might have thought a couple of laps ago that he could have been on the way to winning the World Championship. And Mauro Schmidt, the Swiss. But they're waiting, they've waited too long because here comes Eenkhoorn. Netherlands, after a dramatic day, looking for a medal. They had one last year with Van Baarle. There's no Van der Poel here, but Eenkhoorn is carrying the flag. Hits the front, and they're with him. He came past, but didn't commit to that. Swinging left and right. Coming up to the finale, and Jan Tratnik now arrives, and here comes the peloton. Or what's left of it. Tratnik looking for the medal for Slovenia. Off he goes Will they catch him? 300 metres to the line. There's Lutsenko as well. It's all to play for. It's all to fight for. But Jan Tratnik can see himself on the podium. Evenepoel's the winner. Tratnik's away. He's got the finish line ahead and he's trying to hold on. There's Christophe Laporte behind. There's Wout van Aert as well. And here comes Michael Matthews through the centre. It's Laporte. It's Matthews. Oh, Laporte in second place. Matthews is there with him, I think. What a sprint. And who would have thought it in the last lap that they would come back? It's been a day of shocks all round, but perhaps the least shocking thing of all, Brian Smith, is that Remco Evenepoel rode away to victory. There's confirmation that Laporte has a World Championship medal, as does Matthews. But the winner, the new king, Remco Evenepoel. And here he is. There's been no party yet, but they will be queuing up to buy the beer and shower him in it when he returns to Brussels. Belgium have done it. Quinten Hermans comes to congratulate him. There's his trade teammate for the next couple of months, Deněk Štýbar. Van Aert celebrates behind. Here's Yves Lampaert. Dream work, exactly. Droomwerk. Štýbar's there. Verhooydonk. And even the man who passes on the jersey to him. But it stays in the team. Alaphilippe to Evenepoel. And Brian, I'll repeat it again. Liège, Vuelta, Worlds. Not a bad triple crown.
Absolutely amazing. Amazing. And what a finish there from Christophe Laporte. You have to say he deserves that. Michael Matthews, good to see the home nation. But just look at all his teammates coming to support him. Wout van Aert genuinely happy for his teammates. Peter Sagan was up there in the final as well, but just look at the emotion, the pure emotion. This boy, I'll say young man, just loves racing his bike. Let him off the leash, and this is what he does.
Evenepoel excellence. And the message is, do not doubt Belgium. Do not doubt Evenepoel. And any of us who did have been proved dramatically and drastically wrong. Evenepoel is on top of the world, on the other side of the world. There's going to be a lot to talk about on and off the bike overnight. How on earth we arrived at this conclusion. Turn after turn, event after event. It will all add up. Even, as Brian was just saying, that finish. It's a fourth place, by the way, for Van Aert, and a fifth place for what looked to be Trentin.
I think Sagan was up there in what, sixth, seventh?
There he was, right inside, yeah. Sprinting with
Christophe.
I think Christophe
yeah,
just ahead of him. And another of the Italian riders just coming around.
I think that was possibly BDHO is up there. Yeah, incredible day. Great to be part of it.
Top 10 is Evenepoel, Laporte, Matthews, Van Aert, Trentin, Christophe, Sagan, BDHO, Hayter and Skjelmoser, with Garcia Cortina, Tratnik, Rota, Tulet and Honoré following on. Here is the final classified check. Remco Evenepoel on top of the world, on the other side of the world. It's Evenepoel excellence, Remco the rainbow. Belgium have taken cycling home. Evenepoel has beaten Laporte, who finishes second, so France have another medal. And Michael Matthews at home will stand on the podium. Quite the top 10. And Evenepoel in the end winning by 2:21 and celebrating in the final kilometre. He's destroyed them. A monster ride. Bernard Hinault in 1980, 42 years ago, was the last man to win a monument, a Grand Tour and the Worlds in the same year. And Brian, a winning margin of 2 minutes 21. You and Adam were saying this is something that you'd never really seen before in a Worlds. I'll tell you why. Because in 1968 was the last time we had a winning margin bigger than this. And it was 9 minutes 50 to Vittorio Adorni, the Italian.
Well, I was only one then, so I can't remember that.
But that brings it home, doesn't it? That brings it home.
Of course it does.
As to what we've just seen. I know we're often, we work in entertainment and people think we over-egg things, we go big on things. That's our job. But here, I'll just reeling off these stats and records to really bring it home to you. This has been a huge, huge performance by Remco Evenepoel. We know now who the world champion is. We've heard from him as a welter winner. Here he is before he gets his rainbow jersey. Remco Evenepoel.
Oh, it's another level there. I cannot compare this with the juniors. It's 3 more hours of racing. It's much harder, and also after a super long and how to say. Just a long season. It's amazing to finish like this. I'm just super happy I had the legs today.
Can you talk to us about this Remco show? Taking off with 2 laps to go, that was planned?
Yeah, when you're in 2, you just want to work as long as possible, but I felt quite quickly that I was stronger than Alexei, and I just wanted to go alone because there was no time to waste on a circuit like this. But the last time the climb was actually super hard. I could feel my legs really explode. But I knew on the top that it was almost over. So it was a long downhill and then a 5K flat part towards the finish. They always came to tell me that my advantage was getting bigger and bigger. So that's why I kept pushing, because it's a world championship. You don't want to lose any second, and you just want to win the jersey if you're in the position for.
We saw you in the arms of Wout van Aert. It was a Belgian masterpiece today.
I think how we raced today was really like a team, and as we said before, it doesn't matter how, but we want to become world champion with the team, and it was Wout's chance or my chance, and my chance was to go from earlier on, and Wout had to follow and sprint, and I guess the early attack made it today, but yeah, I think we just deserve it. I think we really deserve it.
Was this a dream of yours?
Yes.
It's going to be a dream year to come. I suppose you can already imagine yourself with that jersey on your shoulders for 1 year. That must mean so much.
It's incredible. It's just a pity that the race is already in August. So it's I think it's going to be one of the shortest years as a world champion. But I don't care. Right? It's I think it's something that I've been dreaming of. And then now after a monument, a big classic, a Grand Tour, and now world champion, I think I won everything I could win this year. So I think a better season like this, I think I will never have.
So it's going to be a little party tonight.
Yeah, a big party, I can say. I'm not going to see my bed, I guess.
Well, enjoy the podium first, and congratulations.
Thank you.
You heard it there. He's going out tonight. And that was the chat, wasn't it, Brian? Why did you attack? I just wanted to be alone.
Yeah, I think I said it in commentary. We see the best of Evenepoel when he's on his own. He doesn't like the other influences of other riders and, you know, having a go at them. He just likes doing his own thing, and like he said, it was his it was his chance to go from distance. But I really did think that we saw a different Evenepoel today. Somebody at the road with maturity and experience, and I think that showed. Okay, there was a little bits where he made maybe a couple of small mistakes, but incredible performance.
Not been a bad season, has it? Monument. Liège in the bag. Grand Tour at the Vuelta España. First Belgian in 44 years. Bronze medal in the time trial at the Worlds.
Bronze medal representing Belgium, Remco Evenepoel.
And now, a world champion on the road. So we look out to the islands after which Wollongong was named and look back at a man who has had an incredible season. Now the questions will begin. Where is he going to be riding in that rainbow jersey next year? Today's race started up the coast in Helensburgh. Mathieu van der Poel was at the start, but we were getting news that he had spent time at the police station, not returning to his room until 4 a.m. after a disturbance at his hotel, where people were keeping him awake. It'd be a fast start. Eventually, we'd get a group with around a minute. 12 riders would get up the road. We thought we were in for the breakaway of the day, until Bruno Amirail started riding on Mount Kira. A big group of around 50 riders split off from the main peloton, including Tadej Pogačar. Alaphilippe and Kuznetsov were in the second group. And then we had a small group break away from the big group. The famous five, two from Australia, Pavel Sivakov of France. There's representation from Belgium and Italy as well. Germany missed the move. They started chasing, and they bring the rest of the big group back. They're still with 183 kilometers to go. Peter said he was getting an armchair ride, sitting on with 16 men up the road. Into the final 75 kilometers. Quentin Pacher starting the real party behind. Sénéchal trying to drive a group on. A group that included Remco Evenepoel. Evenepoel then went with 35 Ks to go on the flat, taking a passenger with him. Passenger who would serve as help for a little while, but only a few kilometers, because Alexei Lutsenko dropped. Evenepoel alone with 25 Ks to go and building a lead. He'd take the bell with a bigger lead. It was soon becoming clear that unless there was some incident, some accident, some problem, Evenepoel was world champion-elect. Fight for the medals was still going on behind. And it would carry on inside the last 4 Ks. Little did they know, it was all brewing up behind. Evenepoel, after 6¼ hours of racing, was able to celebrate. All the comparisons, all the records, his name written next to them. And then those chasing on got a shock. This group approached. Laporte took silver. Matthews took bronze. Evenepoel, the world champion. Remco Evenepoel, only the fourth man in history to win a monument, a world championship and a grand tour in the same year. He's up there with Alfredo Binda, Eddy Merckx, Bernard Hinault. Evenepoel's only 22. It is quite the company. On the day, he beat the men in that graphic there. Christophe Laporte at 2:21, winning the sprint. Michael Matthews on the podium. And trade teammates approaching to celebrate with him. Miguel Honoré, the latest. And that's a nice moment. Van Aert, Evenepoel, no needle, just mates, teammates, and winners. The Belgian driekleur flies proudly in Australia. And it's been a dominant performance by the first man since Philippe Gilbert to win the world title for Belgium. 10 years afterwards. Let's hear from Alexei Lutsenko in the meantime.
Tell us about your race. You were clearly one of the strongest today.
Yeah, but today is a very hard day, very long day. In the last part in the race, I'm trying a lot of match for going the break, and then one gap with Remco, but after the 6 hours, as my legs exploded, and then nothing.
When you were with Remco before your legs exploded, you thought we can make it together.
Yeah, maybe I pushed a lot of before, but a little bit reserve. But yeah, nothing. Today's Remco already strong. He's congrats after the Vuelta. He also world champion. Chapeau.
Thank you very much, Alexei. Bravo, thank you.
Nice to hear there from Alexei Lutsenko as the party is starting. There'll be a few of those. Remco's already said he's going to one. And that's what it means. Proficiat Remco, proficiat België. Congratulations. And the fans ready to see their heroes. That was a good ride from a young Swiss as well, wasn't there? Let's hear from Mauro Schmidt, Remco Evenepoel's trade teammate as well.
Mauro, tell us about your race. You were really strong today. You were among the strongest, no?
Yeah, I think I had a great day. In the end, when you get caught on the last straight, it's really hard. But I think we pokered a bit too much because everybody in the group wanted to have a medal. We knew already quite early that the victory will be gone because Remco was in another league today. But I think for a long time we rode a very good pace. But then, in the last K, we looked at each other a bit too long, and then the big group catched us.
That was the last event of these World Championships, and this is the final medal table. The men's elite world champion is from Belgium. It's their only win, but a big one. They finish in 4th place, just behind Norway, Netherlands, and Great Britain top the medal table. 3 golds, 1 silver, 1 bronze. The future's very bright for Great Britain. Here is the new world champion. For the next 12 months, he'll be wearing the rainbow bands, just like the man in the centre did. Cadel Evans along there. There's Michael Matthews, and that's good to see. Christophe Laporte, another man who's had a great season. 3 big in-form riders, one head and shoulders above anyone else. And time for the medal ceremony.
Course en ligne homme élite. Award ceremony of the 2022 UCI Road World Championships Men Elite Road Race. Les médailles et le maillot seront remis par Monsieur David Lapartien, président de
David Lapartien, the president of the UCI, will be there to give out the jersey and the medals.
The medals and jersey will be presented by Monsieur David Lapartien, UCI president, accompanied by Mr. Cadel Evans.
And Cadel Evans will help him, of course, a former world champion and winner of the Tour de France.
À la 3e place et vainqueur de la médaille de bronze représentant l'Australie. In 3rd place,
listen to this cheer.
Medal representing
in the green and gold,
Michael.
Here's Michael Matthews. I'm sure he would have loved to be 2 places higher, but so would everybody. It's a good result, though, for Michael Matthews.
France in 2nd place and winner of the silver medal representing France, Christophe Laporte.
Christophe Laporte has had quite the year, hasn't he? Moved to a new team, led Paris-Nice, won a World Tour race, and then won a stage of the Tour de France. He is now a silver medalist at the World Championships. And here's the new world champion. For a cycling mad nation, he's taken it home.
And winner of the gold medal.
It's Remco Evenepoel on top of the world. And in the same year, he wins a monument and a Grand Tour. And following on from Binder, Merckx, Hinault, you have Evenepoel. It's not a bad club to be in. A man destined to wear the rainbow bands for a while, it seems. And at the age of 22, he's done it.
The flowers will be presented by the Honorable Ben Franklin, MLC, Minister for Tourism.
It's been quite the 5-6 weeks, hasn't it, Brian, for Remco Evenepoel?
Like you said, it's been the best season ever, and can it get any better? You know, that's his question. You know, he won what he wanted to do this year. You know, a Grand Tour, the World Championships, a monument. You know, when you set out your goals for the year, he's hit them all and hit them out the park in doing it. Absolutely incredible, but it'll be interesting to see what his goals are next year. And there'll be a few people wanting to know what his goals are next year so they can avoid him.
And to celebrate the fact that the world champion is from Belgium, here is the national anthem.
In honor of our new UCI world champion, we present the national anthem of Belgium.
delighted young man, an ecstatic nation. Belgium waking up to success at the Worlds.
And bronze medalist Michael Matthews. Ladies and gentlemen, your top three of the Elite Men's Road Race World Championship.
Evenepoel, Laporte, Matthews is the podium. But between first and the rest, there was the biggest margin since the late 60s. So let's hear from one of the aggressive French riders today. They really took it to the rest, didn't they? And Romain Bardet was a man who wasn't maybe their first pick, but he really helped to make it difficult. And Antoine Pouvin has just caught up with him.
Romain, dites-nous, l'équipe de France a décidé d'attaquer les choses très rapidement.
France decided to attack early.
Racontez-nous un peu comment c'était passé.
Make it a really difficult race.
Très difficile.
Yeah, really hard.
Durcir assez rapidement, c'est ce qu'on a fait avec.
We wanted to make it hard quickly.